Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unsheathing the story behind a film that didn't just hit the box office, it literally hammered a new kind of hero into pop culture. 1982's Conan the Barbarian. This wasn't just some action flick, it was a gritty, philosophical epic that completely changed the game for the fantasy genre. I mean, that line right there tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? It's brutal, it's uncompromising, it's the perfect mission statement for the hero we're about to meet. A man forged in violence, living by the sword in an age undreamed of. So where did this character even come from? Well, way before the movie, Conan was a titan of pulp fiction, born during the Great Depression. We're talking about those cheap, thrilling magazines that were the pop culture of their day. And his journey from those pages to the big screen? Oh man, it was a long and fascinating one. You've got to picture it. The creator, Robert E. Howard, is living in this rough-and-tumble Texas oil town. It's filled with prize fighters, gunmen, and genuine tough guys. And all that raw, gritty reality, he poured it right into his writing. He created an anti-hero who looked at so-called civilization and basically said, "No thanks, my broadsword makes more sense." Conan's rise to stardom was a real slow burn. In the 60s, you get these paperbacks with that absolutely legendary art by Frank Frazetta. That's where Conan gets the look. But the real game changer was Marvel Comics in the 70s. That's when people could finally see the action, panel by panel. And that's what made Hollywood set up and say, okay, this could be a movie. So, the movie needed more than a great story. It needed a physical presence that was almost mythological. It needed an actor who didn't just play a barbarian, he had to be one on screen. And then they saw Pumping Iron. Producer Ed Pressman saw a cut of the documentary and was just blown away by Arnold's charisma and, let's be honest, his godlike physique. And it was just click. That's him. That's Conan. That one viewing kicked off a 5-year quest to get the movie made with Arnold as the one and only choice. This quote from producer Dino De Laurentiis just says it all, doesn't it? The sentiment was clear. Arnold's body was so perfect for the role, it was like he was literally forged for it. He didn't just look the part, he was the living, breathing embodiment of those Frazetta paintings. But here's where it gets really interesting. Director John Milius totally changed the character from the books. The literary Conan was clever, even talkative. Milius knew that wasn't Arnold's strength back then, so he leaned into his physicality. He made Conan a brooding, silent force of nature, not a wild barbarian, but a slave forged by the cruelty of others. And let me tell you, this movie was not made with green screens. The production was physically brutal. Arnold's training was insane, but the real test was on set. We're talking about him being attacked by a real wolf on day one, pushing a real, gigantic wheel in the freezing cold. This brutal approach was the director's entire philosophy in action, which he perfectly summed up when Arnold got hurt. Pain is temporary, but film is eternal. That quote captures everything about how this movie was made. Milius believed that real suffering would translate to a more powerful performance. So when Arnold was actually bleeding, Milius just told him it looked great. That brutal authenticity is baked right into the DNA of the film. Every hit, every struggle feels completely earned. And that obsession with authenticity didn't stop with the actors. Oh no, it extended to building the entire world of Hyboria. Milius wanted to create what he called a Viking samurai movie, set in a world that felt real and gritty, not like some glossy fairy tale. Now, the first script, believe it or not, was from Oliver Stone, and it was absolutely bonkers. We're talking armies of 50,000 mutants, a villain with a skull face, just completely wild stuff. Milius came in, took that script, and ruthlessly stripped it all down. He got rid of the high fantasy and grounded the story in a history that felt like it could have actually happened. So, how do you make a fantasy world feel real? You hire a genius like production designer Ron Cobb. His approach was to make everything, from swords to buildings, look like it could actually work. You can feel the weight of the steel. And he even designed the symbol for the snake cult to work like a corporate logo, giving the villains this cohesive, instantly recognizable brand. Okay, so you have a hero who barely speaks. How in the world do you carry the emotional weight of the story? The answer is the music. And what director John Milius and composer Basil Polidorus created together, well, it's nothing short of legendary. Milius didn't just want background music, he wanted an opera. He needed the score to be the voice of Conan. And get this, the composer, Basil Polidorus, actually wrote the 4 main themes a full year before they started filming. Milius would then blast the music on set in Spain to set the mood for everyone. So the score wasn't just added later, it literally shaped the movie as it was being made. The stories behind the music are just incredible. For that unforgettable grinding sound of the Wheel of Pain, they were literally scraping a Chinese gong. The haunting theme for the funeral pyre, it came to Polydorus in a nightmare about death. And my favorite, the main melody for the orgy scene was inspired by his young daughter just fiddling around on her recorder. It was personal, inventive, and became as iconic as any character in the film. Now, the entire philosophical heart of this movie rests on a concept that Milius himself invented. It's not in any of the original stories, but it's what elevates the film from a simple revenge tale to a meditation on what true strength really is. This is the question posed right at the beginning of the film, and it drives Conan's entire journey. His father offers one answer, his nemesis, Thulsa offers another. But as Conan finds out through unimaginable suffering, they're both dead wrong. So here's the answer. Conan's father trusts the steel sword, but his sword is broken and he's killed. Thulsa believes strength is in the flesh, in controlling people, but he's struck down too. What Conan learns, chained to that wheel of pain and crucified, is that true strength is something else entirely. It's the indomitable will to endure, to survive, and to triumph. It's not the weapon, not the muscle, it's the will. And that right there is the film's lasting power. It proved there was a huge audience for adult fantasy that wasn't afraid of dirt and philosophy. Honestly, you can draw a straight line from Conan to epics like The Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones being taken seriously on screen. It kicked the door wide open for the entire genre. So the film leaves us with that final thought. It's a question that goes way beyond the Hyborian age and right into our own lives, asking us what the real source of our strength is. And with that, Conan's journey, from a boy at a mill to a king on a throne, becomes more than just a fantasy. It becomes a legend.